Alright, so I believe this is working. I'm not 110% sure, but start off by apologizing if I sound ill. I've been sick for about a week now. So we're going over basically how foreign countries are trying to advance their internet and technology services to sort of fit in with the United States. So it was a little bit difficult to find some articles, as many of them are not accessible, especially if they're recent. So I'll just start from the first one, which I tried to find because it applied a little bit more to nursing for me, as well as technology. This is an article that was done at the School of Public Health in Canada. So for those who are familiar with technology within hospitals in the United States, a lot of us have different types of services, like UpToDate is one of them, where you can look up procedures and just kind of gold standard treatment plans, and they're available through all like hospitals, at least the ones I've been to, and I've been to a lot of them. It's often talked about in medical schools and physician's assistants programs and nurse practitioner school. So in Canada, came out with their wonderful nationally funded healthcare system, they wanted to utilize health technology assessment to support purchasing and like coverage decisions. The Joint Commission for them, which we also have in the United States, who kind of is in charge of telling us everything we do wrong most of the time, was telling them that they should probably create this to have a place for all their evidence-based practice to be stored on drugs, devices, procedures, and systems, and they called it the Canadian Coordinating Office of Health Technology Assessment. Bringing it back to how it relates, in the United States we use similar technology, but not necessarily the same across the entire nation, kind of like they were trying to do with their idea. Just something interesting, so we definitely have the option to try to do that. The other two articles are a lot different. Kind of going into countries who have more of a tight grasp on their internet services and usages throughout the country by citizens. So this is an article I actually was able to get the full copy of through my mother. She's a part of this website, so but the gist of it is China's cybersecurity law came into effect. It required network operators to store select data with China and allow Chinese authorities to conduct like spot checks on a company's network operations. Some of the foreign companies were a little concerned because of the data controls and the risk of intellectual property theft. There wasn't a lot of information when the law came out about guidance on complying with it, so it was quite a commotion. It was applicable to network operators and businesses in critical sectors, and they had to cooperate with the Chinese crime or security investigators to allow like full access to their data. And the foreign countries that are like based in China are already pretty accustomed to that, but others were not as impressed. And now if you go back to one of the questions on the assignment asking how if this could be feasible in the United States, I feel as though we'd probably get just a little bit of pushback on that. And the last one is actually pretty interesting. This is fairly recent. This actually came up on Google Scholar, so as I'm reading it though, it kind of doesn't seem as much of a article as the other two, but so this is about the internet shutdowns in Africa because of, for those who don't know, they have a lot of authoritarian states throughout the continent. There's around right here, we'll tell you over Of the 22 African countries where internet disruptions were ordered in the last 5 years, 77% are authoritarian, and the rest are of hybrid or semi-authoritarian regimes. So this has been going on for a while. What will happen is citizens of the countries in Africa, things will happen. Like there's an example in here about how there was protesting, and the next day the government shut down the internet. There was someone who was saying that they wanted the downfall of the president. One of the leaders actually had talked poorly of another one, and they decided to, after they got some backlash, shut down the internet as well. So it kind of seems to be like a timeout that they're using there. So what this article was going to say is that due to the amount of shutdowns there's been, some of the other countries have recognized that it's wrong, and they do not want to continue to disrupt digital communications. It's kind of opening up a conversation within Africa about whether or not this is appropriate. So, again, if any of this currently happened in the United States, there would likely be some pushback on that, but it's kind of interesting.